guys, welcome back to another video. We have a ton of news to get into, lots of Xbox news as well as one story for PlayStation. So let's just jump right into it. First of all, with the biggest thing I think that came out yesterday was that Xbox is reportedly entering into a new agreement to develop a AAA title with People Can Fly. It says here, according to the report, Project Maverick has been allocated a budget of roughly $30 to $50 million and will be a game based on the intellectual property rights of the publisher. So in this case, Microsoft. So I'm guessing that means that they get to keep the IP rights for whatever game that they do go out and make. And they've already worked on games with People Can Fly, such as Gears of War Judgment, which for a lot of people is one of their least favorite Gears of War games. I mean, I didn't hate it. I love the Gears of War series, and the gameplay is still very similar in Gears of War Judgment, but obviously it's not the best one in the series. And they also had that relationship with People Can Fly, I believe it was in 2021 when Outriders was released as a day one game on Xbox Game Pass. And that was out of nowhere. That was a shock to a lot of people because we didn't know about this game coming over to Game Pass until very close to its release date. And it was a perfect game for Xbox Game Pass, as it is a co-op multiplayer looter shooter. And I actually thought the game was good. I thought it was a pretty fun game. I thought the gameplay was extremely tight and well polished, but the game itself, from all of the reports that have come out about Outriders, didn't do very well, which obviously hasn't deterred them from entering into another big relationship, a big deal here with Microsoft. I mean, it's $30 to $50 million that they're giving them to make this game, which is a pretty decent budget, but we have no idea what any of this means, what game this is going to be, and when we will ever see this game. Probably not for many years down the line, as this is the first time we're hearing about it. The game is probably just entering into development now, but cool to see, because this is going to be a game coming over to Xbox Game Pass more than likely. And when it comes to the actual Outrider stuff, this is a report that just happened too, which is the timing is interesting, as we know the whole thing with Outriders. It was published by Square Enix, and Square Enix came out and said that the game didn't do as well as they wanted, which is like literally what Square Enix does with every single game, especially their Western games. It seems like their bar is just so high that no game can actually reach what their goals are. But it looks like they still haven't made a profit from Outriders, and that's simply because Square Enix hasn't paid them any royalties for this game. So as it says here, while scouting the publisher's investors relations page, I noticed something interesting. Outriders, the well-received third-person co-op game released in 2021, has yet to turn a profit. Outriders was financed by Square Enix, and People Can Fly were to receive royalties if the game broke even. As of March of this year, Square Enix hasn't sent any royalties to People Can Fly. So it hasn't broken even though, like it says, it was a well-received game in terms of the actual gameplay mechanics and all that type of stuff. But I'm interested in what People Can Fly is going to be able to bring here. I think that there is some talent there. Like I said, I liked Outriders. They also worked on Gears of War Judgment, so that relationship has already been there with Xbox. Well, let's jump over here to Todd Howard and him talking about the Xbox Series S and Starfield. As we know, obviously the debate is still going to rage on from 30 FPS or 60 FPS on console, and whether that is acceptable right now in 2023. A lot of people look at the scope of Starfield and they see how big it is, and they wouldn't trade in all of the mechanics, everything you can do in Starfield for 60 FPS on console, because the game, I mean, it looks outstanding. So Series S, they did announce 1440p, which I thought was pretty impressive for this big of a game. I honestly expected this thing to be at 1080p on the Xbox Series S, and that is not the case. It is going to be 1440p, but it is going to be locked at 30 frames per second. And Todd Howard was talking about this, and he says, I got an X and an S when they came out. I put the X in the basement with the big 4K TV. My kids don't let me play it. They're always on it. So the S is upstairs, and the game looks great. It looks great, but technically most of my Starfield play has been on the Series S within the family. So Todd Howard is playing through this game on the Xbox Series S. He's saying it is looking great. I mean, what is he going to say? Could this be a Todd Howard lie? Who knows? But I would still say it's a decent sign that he's playing it through on the Xbox Series S, and he's happy with the overall performance of this game and look at 1440p, especially if you're somebody who's going to be playing this game on a monitor and you have the Xbox Series S. you're going to get 1440p out of it, which I think is the baseline for most people who are playing games on monitors. I mean, that's the sweet spot for me with my monitor, is playing in 1440p, and it's going to be cool that I can just plug in my Series S and essentially get the exact same experience as we're going to getting on the X, because I guess they're also both locked to 30 frames per second. And when it comes to the frames per second thing, this argument is going to continue to rage on. But the whole thing here is I don't even think Starfield, because of the scope, because of some of the stuff that they've done with this game, the engine, all of those things, is this game even going to hit a steady 60 frames per second on the majority of PCs out there? And my assumption will be no. You're probably going to have to be spending a lot of money on a huge, high-powered PC in order to hit 60 frames per second. I know for me, it's not going to be running at 60 FPS on my PC. So the Xbox Series X, 4K, 30 FPS, hopefully without anything going crazy, no stutters, and just a game that's running properly, is the way I'm going to be experiencing Starfield. Now, when it comes to other games that Xbox has yet to announce, we do have a bit of information here. Well, first of all, we have Phil Spencer, who has been teasing multiple games that weren't shown at this year's Xbox showcase. He was in interviews. He made hints to like id, and he also had the Hexen shirt on during the showcase, and people were asking what all that meant. He said it wasn't a nod or a hint that Hexen was going to be coming to Xbox, but he does say this. Now, this is speaking to Polygon. It says Phil was discussing why he's so humbly confident about Xbox's first-party portfolio in 2024, explaining that at least few games in this year's showcase were actually kind of ready to be shown last year, which I think is a good thing. Here, this is his exact quote. I actually don't have a lot of fear about 2024. 2022 is hard for us, but I think waiting on certain games, let's take South of Midnight, like you saw, the game got announced during the Xbox Game Showcase. We had that game ready to announce last year, but we said, let's keep working on the game. Or let's take Clockwork Revolution. When I was here at E3 last year, I was at In Exile playing that game, not looking at the announcement video, but actually playing the game. And he goes on here and says, when I look forward, there are many things. We haven't talked about what's coming from id. We haven't talked about what's coming from the Coalition. When are we going to see Perfect Dark again? And when are we going to see Everwild again? There are so many things that we are still working on that we haven't shown. I mean, I don't like to be confident, but I like to be humbly confident. I feel good about where the portfolio is. And I mean, as an Xbox fan, as somebody whose main console is Xbox, hearing Phil say this, whether you want to believe him or not, I think is kind of relevant, but hearing him say this has my confidence up that we're going to be continuously getting a steady flow of Xbox games from here on out. And they've even talked about with Matt Booty saying that they want to be able to release a game every single quarter. That's not the first time Xbox has talked about this. They've been saying this forever since they've been acquiring all these studios, that they want to release a game every quarter, at least 4 games a year. And they're going to meet it in 2023. And I'm guessing we have a Valve that's slated for 2024, Hellblade 2 slated for 2024, Flight Simulator 2024 slated for 2024. I'm assuming there is going to be another game they're going to be able to get out in 2024. So I feel like we have a solid 2 years right now where we are going to be getting what they had promised us, which is very, very good. And the other thing that I like what he said here, which is something I've always said when it comes to Xbox, because they have so many studios, because they have so many games in the works, let games cook. If they're ready to be shown, but you have a bunch of other games, don't show them right away. If you have games ready to be released, but you have so many games coming out in a single year, don't release it right away. Let it cook and make sure that games are always going to be consistently releasing, specifically for something like Xbox Game Pass, so the service always has some hype behind it. But this is good news here. If you're wondering, is 2023 a blimp on the radar? Is 2024 going to be more like 2022 or more like what we're currently getting? It seems like it's going to be more like what we are currently getting. And when it comes to Perfect Dark and State of Decay 3, Matt Booty talked about these games and saying that they are on track for gameplay deep dives, not just little gameplay shows, gameplay deep dives within 18 months. Here's what he says. As I look ahead to 2024, everything that we're going to ship, I've seen builds of like very recently or played them. I've said this before, there's so much stuff in Fable where when I get with Alan, says I'm just like, why don't you show this and this? And he goes, no, because there's a lot of cool stuff in the game that I'm excited about. And as I think ahead, even as we get into 2025, we've seen builds of games at the initiative. I know just because Undead Labs are there in Seattle, what's going on with State of Decay 3? we've seen these things. So as I look ahead to the next 18 months in terms of what we're going to be able to show and deliver and do that kind of gameplay, I'm cautiously confident because the teams are hard at work and they get that. That's the kind of bar now, which is let's show it, let's show up with gameplay and do deeper dives when we show up. I mean, that's phenomenal here. I'm not gonna lie, that is one of the best quotes I think that I've heard in a while from Xbox, because that's what people get excited about, especially with the last showcases. People want to see gameplay at these showcases, and it just provides that confidence that these games are being worked on, they are progressing forward, and that we are going to be able to get our hands and play these things sooner rather than later. The fact that he believes that State of Decay 3 and Perfect Dark are going to get deep dive gameplays within the next 18 months has me extremely excited. Those are two huge games I wanted to see. I did not expect either of these at the Xbox Game Showcase this year. I didn't put them in any of my predictions. So I'm excited now to see what's coming in 2025. I mean, the slate of games is insanely packed at Xbox. And if you really sit back and think about it, the ball took a while to get rolling, but it is rolling and it seems like the momentum isn't stopping. And then finally, let's talk about this. And it has to do with Sony and the cloud. As we know, cloud gaming is going to grow. It is going to be a big part of the gaming industry in the future. PlayStation does need to get further into cloud gaming. They said they are going to get further into cloud gaming, but they are far behind when it comes to what Xbox has been able to do with Xbox cloud gaming. But they are taking a step here in, I say, a good direction. And I think this has a lot to do with the Project Q handheld thing that they did announce at their showcase. But they're going to be able to start streaming PS5 games on your PlayStation 5. It says PlayStation Plus premium members will eventually get access to stream PS5 games without having to download them to a console. Sony says that it started testing the ability to stream PS5 games from the cloud. The PlayStation maker says it's testing cloud streaming for PS5 games and is planning to add this feature to its PlayStation Plus premium subscription. They specifically say here, we're currently testing cloud streaming for supported PS5 games. This includes PS5 titles from the PlayStation Plus game catalog and game trials, as well as supported digital PS5 titles that players own, which I think that's a great feature if you're able to stream games that you currently own. If you've just bought them through the store, I would love to see that feature brought over to the Xbox Series S and X, so it's not just having to be subscribed to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to get this feature, but let's say you just bought a random game, you can stream it on any Xbox device. Continues here and says, when this feature launches, cloud game streaming for supported PS5 titles will be available for use directly on your PS5 consoles. So that's cool. And obviously this is coinciding with Project Q that they did announce, which is that handheld. It's kind of just a companion for the remote play stuff. I wonder if they will be adding in that feature to directly stream those games via Project Q without actually having to connect to your PS5 in your house. And so far they've only confirmed about the Wi-Fi connected to your PS5, but I feel like it's a no-brainer. If they're going to bring this over to the PlayStation 5 console, I don't see why they wouldn't bring this over to Project Q unless they have literally no ability or no software in there that would support this. I'm not sure, but it just seems like a no-brainer of something that will come in. And Jim Ryan literally came out and said, it says right here, quite aggressive plans for cloud gaming. So more is going to be coming down the line when it comes to PlayStation and when it comes to cloud gaming. But that's where the video is going to be left here, guys. Lots of stuff to talk about. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this stuff, especially about the Xbox first-party games coming down the line and how confident or humbly confident they are that they're going to continue to be able to release on a consistent basis through 2024 and 2025. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.